This is probably one of the craziest things I've heard in a very, very long time. So over at ESPN, Jeremy Fowler put together a quarterback rankings based on NFL executive coaches and scouts who voted on the players. And Fowler compiled the list and results and basically made these positional rankings heading into 2024. So let's bring up the list again. These are the top 10 quarterbacks: Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott. So that list isn't that bad. I think having Aaron Rodgers there is a bit much, but I think could just be projecting what the season could look like. However, one NFL executive had a pretty harsh take on Josh Allen, and this is what he had to say. Josh Allen is one of the most overrated players in the NFL. Immense talent, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He's underdeveloped at winning at the line of scrimmage, tends to lock onto targets, more of a thrower than a precision passer, and forces throws into traffic. Well, first off, I'll say, in this top 10 quarterbacks list, Josh Allen was the only quarterback other than Patrick Mahomes to receive a first-place vote. I think it's safe to say that guy, whoever said this anonymous NFL executive, probably wasn't the one to give him that first-place vote. But to call Josh Allen overrated, there's really nothing to back that up. There really isn't anything. Now, Dan Orlovsky said something recently that isn't exactly true, because he said that Josh Allen is 2 or 3 plays away from being a multi-Super Bowl appearing quarterback, and that just hasn't been the case. Let's go year to year since Josh Allen's been there. So 2018, which is when Josh Allen was drafted, they didn't make the playoffs. The following year, they lost by 3 in the wild card. Safe to say that that's not 2 or 3 plays away from the Super Bowl. How about 2020? Well, they were in the conference championship and got blown out 38-14. Not really 1 or 2 plays away from being in the Super Bowl. How about the next year, 2021? It was the 13-second game, breakdown of the defense. That maybe you could argue. How about this? 2022. Oh, they got blown out by 17 against the Cincinnati Bengals in the divisional game. Not really 2 or 3 plays away from the Super Bowl. And finally, last year, they lost in the divisional against the Chiefs again by 3. So not 2 or 3 plays away from making the Super Bowl. So that part, I don't exactly understand where that came from, but I do agree that calling him overrated is not that smart of a take. It's a pretty dumb take in my opinion. So through 6 NFL seasons, Josh Allen has thrown for over 22,000, nearly 23,000 yards. And his ability to score touchdowns is actually crazy. Actually insane. He tied for the most rushing touchdowns by non-running backs, non-rushers, so quarterbacks basically, in the NFL last season. And he didn't do the tush push. The tush push was not something at the extent that the Eagles were doing, and that's how Jalen Hurts was able to get most, if not all, of his rushing touchdowns. But Josh Allen's coming off of his 4th straight 4,000-plus yard passing season. Not a lot of quarterbacks are doing that. Really, not a lot of quarterbacks are doing this. Like, he has made some incredible plays, absolutely. But, and this is where maybe the overrated one, because it was about him making mistakes. And did we really criticize, Brett Favre? Brett Favre is a Hall of Famer. 100%, he's a Hall of Famer. He also threw, I think, the most touchdowns in NFL history. He's a gunslinger. That's what Josh Allen is. Josh Allen is the 20, because Brett Favre retired in 2010, I believe. So from 2011 up to now. So I'm going to call this sort of my modern NFL. That's kind of what Josh Allen is. Josh Allen is my modern NFL's version of Brett Favre. The post-Brett Favre, Brett Favre. Yes, he does make some incredible mistakes. And speaking of which, 2022, he led the league in red zone interceptions. That's 6 points taken away from you. At least 3, but most likely 6 points removed. So you gave up 30 points. 30 points you left on the board because of your interceptions. Now, he does make some crazy plays, and I think everybody can acknowledge that. Some of his tight window throws, he makes some phenomenal plays. There was one against the Giants, running to the right, making a nice tight throw. Beautiful. But also he has some head-scratching moments like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Kind of Caleb Williams thing here, right? And I brought this clip up before, and I'll bring it up again because I do think it speaks volumes. Because, yes, Josh Allen could have taken the underneath route, and yes, Deion Dawkins kind of got shoved. But we're not talking about Josh Allen was being pancaked on. No, by the way, this is not that great pocket awareness. If he slides to his right, he might be able to get that throw off and actually hit, was it Gabe Davis? I can't see it from here. Gabe Davis for a touchdown. That could have been a potential opportunity, but missing Stephon Diggs is a problem. That is a problem. He didn't see him to his left. That could be the lock-on receiver part. Locks on to Gabe Davis. Or that could be Shakir. I'm not sure. I couldn't see it from where I'm sitting. But that was definitely a touchdown play. But he didn't see Chris Jones pancake. I believe that was Deion Dawkins. He could have just slid to his right, made the throw. Or simply dish it off to Stephon Diggs and have him run up the seam. I also think that Josh Allen, and this is where my criticism comes from, he's going to need to show that he's more dynamic. Because even his offensive coordinator is criticizing some of the things that Josh Allen needs to do. And this is what he had to say recently. Joe Brady said recently, and I quote, "Josh is a great quarterback, but I'm just wanting to see his thirst to get better." He said that on Centered on Buffalo podcast with former Bill Eric Wood. He continues by saying, when you show him clips that, hey, you might have made an incredible play right there, but you didn't have to make an incredible play. How can we make it easier for you? You can make plays that nobody else in the world could do, but we don't need you to do it every snap. And we see that in the playoffs. It becomes a Josh Allen roadshow. For instance, the first half of the season, they could not run the ball very well. The running plays just weren't implemented very well. Ken Dorsey did not do a great job. Joe Brady comes in, and then the running game picks up. The passing game decreases a little bit. The amount of pass plays called decreased a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a couple minutes here. But Josh Allen, they started winning more games. Josh Allen looked better. Interceptions were much lower. Touchdowns were basically the same, but getting rid of those turnovers were massive. And the only reason why Ken Dorsey got fired, and that was after the horrendous loss, where Josh Allen had 2 interceptions and a fumble loss. The first interception was not his fault. It hit off the hands of Gabe Davis, but the second one is like, that's a Dak Prescott playoff interception. Like, what are you doing? He was covered, and you still decided to throw it. So some of those, it's very, very infuriating, I'm sure, for Bills fans to go see Josh Allen makes these kind of mistakes, but that's kind of what you get, because Josh Allen, like I said, is today's Brett Favre. That's what he is. A tremendous athlete, has an incredible arm, takes risks, but it's high risk, high reward. That's what it is. And Brian Daboll actually tweaked that a little bit. Because Brian Daboll, when he came to the Bills, refined the game, refined Josh Allen's game. And year one, when Daboll went over to the Giants, that's when he led the league in red zone interceptions. Now, it toned back this year, which is good. Very good to see that growth. But Josh Allen's really, his back's against the wall. Because Diggs and Davis, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, two numbers, the number one, number two receiver, combined for 253 targets, postseason and regular season. Every other wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills combined for 106. That is a 147 target difference between the top two and the remaining 3 or 4. Safe to say that Baker Mayfield, OBJ kind of here between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. By the way, and Trayvon Diggs even pointed this out, Stephon Diggs was kind of the reason why Josh Allen had that explosive growth that he had in year 3. Otherwise, we may be seeing just a very turnover-prone and high explosive play, that kind of just yin and yang of good and bad without a level of consistency if Stephon Diggs wasn't there. But he was, so we saw a great Josh Allen. But I think this season proved just exactly what the Bills could do. And when you kind of put the Dak Prescott spin on it and decrease the amount of passing plays you call and increase the run attempts, you'll have much more success. Because before Joe Brady got there, so Ken Dorsey, they went 5-5. Josh Allen had a great completion percentage of 70.3, 260 passing yards a game. The rushing yards per game for Josh Allen were 24.6. Total touchdowns to TDs were 26-14. The 14 turnovers, that's bad. That's very, very bad. But then when Joe Brady came in, they had the lowest passing play percentage called in that 9-game span. 48.4%, lowest in the NFL, and they went 7-2. Josh Allen had a 62.4% completion percentage, 232.8 passing yards a game. Rushing yards per game increased to 47.1 compared to 24.6, and the total touchdowns to turnovers were 25-8. That's what you want to see from your quarterback. Less turnovers and increase, or basically keep the same amount of touchdowns. Essentially, it's a 1 difference. Increase the production. Add more dynamic aspects to your game. Increase your bag, if you want to talk about in NBA terms. Increase what you can deliver in a game. We saw the emergence of James Cook. Now, I think he's a star now. He showed that he's a very, very good running back. I believe he was the first 1,000-yard Bill rusher since, was it Shady McCoy in 2017, if I'm not mistaken? So even before Josh Allen got there, they haven't had a 1,000-yard running back since. James Cook was just the first guy to do it since then. So I'm not calling, Josh Allen overrated. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. I had him as number 2 in my top 10 quarterback list. Number 2. But do I think that he really can make you tear your hair out with some of his turnovers, some of his just, what the hell are you doing type plays? I do. Absolutely I do. But I still think because he has so much upside with his ability to run the football, with probably arguably the best arm throwing-wise, throw power-wise in the NFL, arm strength. Yeah, there's a lot of upside to Josh Allen's game. But it's Brett Favre. You also got to deal with the turnovers. If you could refine it, if you could Brian Daboll Josh Allen again, he could be another top-tier quarterback. He's in my book, he's still top 3 because Joe Burrow got hurt last year. Josh Allen played very well last season. Very well. It's just 1 or 2 plays. And by the way, I saw this before, so I'm going to point it out. I'm not blaming losses. I did not, for instance, let's bring up the specific example here. I'm not blaming the loss for the Bills on this play. Because guess what? Josh Allen played very well in this game. But there are plays that amount to more than what's on a scoreboard, what's on a stat sheet. Because all that goes down as an incompletion. But what that led to was a missed field goal that cost you the game. If you just make that one play, I know Stephon Diggs had a drop. So what? He's your number 1 receiver. Number 1. If he truly is your number 1 receiver and you trust him, if he's open, throw him the football. That's an hour. If that's the case, if the reasoning behind it was that he dropped another play, so it's kind of like, well, I'm going to not throw it to you for a play or two. That's Aaron Rodgers. That's Aaron Rodgers, Christian Watson. He had one bad drop on a deep throw. The only way they can get him involved is on end arounds and jet sweeps. No, he's a good receiver. Throw him the ball. So I think that's a little bit unfair to say, well, he dropped a 70-yard pass. So what? Is he open? Yeah. Can he run? Yeah. Could he have gotten the first down and more? Probably so. And let's just say they don't score a touchdown on that drive. Does it decrease the likelihood of a missed field goal? Yeah. So I'm not saying Josh Allen's overrated. I'm not blaming him for one particular play. But what I will say is those plays are costly in the sense of, look what happened afterwards. Look what could have happened if he decided to make the better play. If he held on to the football. If he didn't run all the way to the right side and throw a horrible interception against the Miami Dolphins where there was no shot that was getting completed. It's these types of plays where it's, yes, on the stat sheet, it goes generally as an incomplete pass. But there was a play there to be made, and Josh Allen didn't make it. It's what could have happened if he decided to make the better play instead of Caleb Williams it and stay in the pocket, try to make the big-time throw, get the clicks, get the cameras flashing, get 1 million views on YouTube, be on one of the top plays on NFL.com or on the NFL YouTube channel. Just make the smart play. You win a lot of games. I do think it is very unfortunate because if Josh Allen was in the NFC, there's a very high chance that he makes it to several NFC championship games. And maybe if someone gets hurt on the 49ers or someone gets hurt on the Cowboys or the Eagles or the Lions, that he can make a Super Bowl as an NFC quarterback. But because he has to go through Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar and Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud now, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, it's like, ugh. This is a very, very difficult road to go through. But that's the road that he was dealt by being drafted by the Buffalo Bills. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.